Hello, hello. Oh my goodness, so good to see everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the 10th installment of Conversations Among X. Yes, some of you have watched this potentially 7 times and this is your 8th time, or maybe it's your first. But if you don't know, Conversations Among X is a series of panels that just highlight the talents and experiences of some of the most talented Latinx creatives all across the U.S. And, you know, if you are paying attention, it is Hispanic Heritage Month. So this is really, today's conversation is going to be hot, hot, hot. Conversations Among X, if you don't know, is a part of CINE Youth Fest, which is an online film festival that makes events and is powered by HITN, which is the largest non-commercial Spanish language television network in the US. What a mouthful. And as you just saw on that slide, today's conversation, oh my God, what's today's conversation? It is compelling documentaries, real stories for real change. We must use what we have to invent what we desire. Whoa, Adrienne Rich, okay. Exciting stuff here. Now, who is the lunatic that's talking at you right now? Well, it's me, Lorena, or Lorena, if you want to get fancy. Lorena Russi, and I'm going to be moderating today's panel. Now, for today's panel, we have 4 incredible panelists that we're going to introduce. And, you know, just as a little caveat, a little asterisk, this is live. This is coming to you from the internet. Hashtag Al Gore. I don't know, is this topical? Is that joke topical? I'm not sure. But we're here online and we're going to do our best. So if there's any technical difficulties, we're all going to be patient because we love it. And if there aren't any technical difficulties, well, then we've done an amazing job. Okay. But before we get started with the panelists, I've been talking a lot and I think you guys should learn more about me. What? Yeah, that doesn't track. But to get started with the show, we're going to start actually with my bio video package. So please enjoy.
My name is Lorena. I am a full-time comedian and filmmaker.
¿Cuántos años tienes, Lorena? Sí, pero ¿cuántos años?
I am Latina and I'm queer. I'm a lady, you know, right at the edge, but I'm a woman.
That's Tova.
What?
I used to play soccer professionally because stereotypes come in one size.
I love watching that bio video package. Never gets old. So that's a little bit about me. But guys, we're all ready, I think, probably to meet the panelists. Okay, so this first panelist, or as I like to call them, guests, right? Because this is my home. This first panelist, you're gonna love him. Please welcome to the stage, Steve VAZQUEZ.
Steve VAZQUEZ is an award-winning director and producer based in Los Angeles. A graduate of Howard University, Steve began his filmmaking career producing music videos for artists like Tiesto, The Chainsmokers, P. Diddy, Galantis, and Marshmello. In 2015, he joined Uproxx Media Group, a subsidiary of Warner Music Group, and has directed branded content campaigns for household brands, including McDonald's, Mercedes, Nike, Honda, National Geographic, and Toyota, as well as the director for the hit YouTube series and podcast, The People's Party, with Talib Kweli. Steve has produced 2 feature films, and in 2019, he directed his first narrative feature film titled Domino, Battle of the Bones, starring Snoop Dogg and David Arquette. Steve has produced and directed projects that have won laurels from Nashville International Film Festival, LA Shorts Film Festival, Holly Shorts Film Festival, Legends of Hollywood Film Festival, Digiday Award, Webby Award, and 3 Clio Awards for branded content campaigns.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you,
How many glasses does it take to win a Webby? Steve, thank you for being here, buddy. I know it's your first day on set ever, so just thank you so much.
No, thank you all for having me. It's really an honor to be here and to be a part of this. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to put that reel together. That's really special and appreciated.
This is the first time Steve's ever given a compliment. I would like to say that we kind of feel like tethers of each other in a strange way, like skater bros that maybe go to the gym. Okay, Steve, we don't have time. I have to introduce other panelists.
Please, go on.
Yeah. Okay, but we need to find out if Steve and I are related. This next guest, okay, you got Steve. Okay, you thought Steve made you want to quit the biz. Well, this next person definitely will. Please welcome to the stage, Jorge XOLALPA.
Jorge XOLALPA is an award-winning filmmaker and CEO at Mighty Aphrodite Pictures. His studio concentrates in the production of female-driven stories. In 2019, Jorge launched NYTA, Not Your Typical Assholes Films, a Mighty Aphrodite Pictures sister company with the intent to produce LGBTQIA+ and or Latinx content created for and by Latinx filmmakers. His 2020 film, Your Iron Lady, was in a consideration for a Golden Globe nomination and received great reviews from members of the Hollywood foreign press. His thematic is constantly very dark and dramatic. Jorge has publicly admitted that he is heavily inspired by the works of Darren Aronofsky, Yorgos Lanthimos, and Woody Allen.
Hi, Jorge.
Hi, Lorena. How are you?
Doing so good. So jealous of this blazer. Looks so good.
Thank you.
It's
my favorite. It's my lucky blazer.
Oh, is it? Oh, good for you.
Yes, it's my favorite color, so I like wearing it a lot.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was like, let me look like Jurassic Park. That was what I thought would be okay.
I like your hair though. It makes me wonder. I had a perm. I mean, I'm sure that's natural, but
yeah,
I had a perm for a while and I really liked it. So I like your hair.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a wig. My hair naturally is just snakes. Great. A perfect introduction. Jorge, thank you so much for being here. And thank you truly to your blazer. So we are. Yeah. We are going to introduce the next panelists and guests. A lot of times with these Zooms, I really wish we were just in person because this would be, oh my God, you're so perfect, you're so beautiful. And instead it's me saying I have snakes for hair. Okie dokie. This next person, guys, I mean, I really am. I'm leaving the industry. Please welcome to the stage, JOÁO DALL'STELLA.
Born in Sao Paulo, Brazil, JOÁO DALL'STELLA moved 3 years ago to United States to advance his career. His talent was his visa. His AFI thesis film, Dia de las Carpas, won the DGA Student Grand Prize for Latino Directors and has been featured in prestigious showcases and festivals such as CAA MIBIS and SAG-AFTRA Foundation and Oscar-qualifying film festivals. His short film, Stalls, has also played in more than 50 LGBTQ festivals worldwide. As a member of the Latino and gay community, JOÁO started making movies to create his own world where he celebrates the community through his unique narrative style, hoping to inspire and entertain, but at the same time make them think and analyze, where do we really stand?
Ooh,
That was a nice intro. Hello,
Yeah.
how are you?
good. Yeah, these intros are nice, right? I feel
Yeah.
like we should all play them like when we wake up in the morning.
I know, right? I had the same feeling. I'm like feeling important now. How are you?
Yeah. I have a question for you, Joao. Is your hair naturally curly, or do you also have snakes under that wig?
No, this is also a wig. I think you came from the same word as me.
Yeah. Totally. Okay, great. I'm glad you and me can align.
2 hours in the morning just to get it done.
Yeah. Totally understand. Okay, we'll share tips. But you guys, the last panelist I would like to introduce to the stage and to just bring this all home is Jorge Rivera.
Jorge Rivera is a Puerto Rican filmmaker with a BFA from Miami International University of Art and Design. Jorge is a 13-year veteran in the film and TV industry. He has worked with major networks such as Netflix, NBC, and Universal Studios as an assistant director, stage manager, and COVID compliance officer. Recently, the American Film Institute recruited him to work as an industry mentor on student films. One of the most life-changing projects he has worked on was the 2019 documentary Lost in America, about the hidden lives of homeless youth across the United States.
Ooh, coming from the car. Where are you, Jorge?
I am in my car parked on the street in the middle of a location scout.
Oh, got it. Can you say what city you're in?
In Los Angeles right now.
Okay, I've heard of it. Amazing. Yeah, please, if you can. I'm also in a location scout. This is it.
It's great.
I found the spot.
We should film there.
Yeah, no, I think you can. It's really good for self-tapes. You probably don't have to do that. We'll bring out Steve, and me and him will talk about self-tapes. But thank you so much for being here. And I'd like to bring all of the speakers back out. So I'd like to have Steve VAZQUEZ, Jorge XOLALPA, JOÁO Darcela, and of course, Jorge Rivera. You guys, thank you for being here. And in the audience, if you're just tuning in, this is Conversations Among X. And today we're talking about compelling documentaries, real stories for real change. Wow. Get that tattooed on your arm. Or don't, I don't know. Okay, guys, we're having so much, this is like, you guys are like, this is too much fun, Lore, I have to stop. But we're gonna talk some questions, and not personal questions, although I have asked you all if your hair is real, so we've really entered a new layer of comfort. But mainly what I want to talk to you guys is just sort of, a lot of these questions are going to reflect or revolve around authenticity. And so the first one I just want to throw out there, and, whoever wants to pick it up first, this is sort of like family style. We'll just sort of speak and share the space. The first question I want to ask you guys is, how has your story not been seen or told before?
I can start, if that's cool.
Get in there, Steve. Get in there.
Being both, Mexican American and African American living in the U.S., for the longest, you didn't really see, either of those stories on TV unless it was, some crime stories. We started to get sitcoms and things like that, but for the most part, it was like either criminals or some violence, and there's more to us than that. Both being biracial and also just being a part of both communities. And so, I think one of the great things with, the movement that happened, the Black Lives Matter movement, and, the movement for, equality, push for equality, starting in 2020. I think one of the great things was that in particular, streamers started to pay attention and started telling more stories. I don't think we're 100% there yet. Clearly, with the Emmys, obviously, that was an issue. But I think that one avenue that I've been looking at, and I'm sure the other panelists here in this have been looking at the same, is the opportunity to create films, to create shows, and actually get in front of networks and get in front of audiences through these different streaming platforms, be it big or small. But I think that's my take on it.
Right. Yeah, I'll go if it's okay. Yeah.
It's not.
Um,
It's not okay. It's not. Okay.
Thank you,
Sorry
Lord.
for
I usually approach it. I usually approach all of it as because I'm a crew guy. I'm always behind the scenes, and so I've always approached it as an assistant director and how we can be seen there. And there's been a lot of times earlier part of my career being the only brown guy on set, and a lot of times when we're filming content that has to do with brown people is usually me, and everyone else is of Caucasian. But so I usually approach it going in there and being like, look, guys, here I am. We exist. Let's not do that. That is a little bit offensive. Let's move on. You should probably do it this way, and kind of guiding them and teaching them while I'm in the process. So I think a lot of times the AD, the assistant director, isn't highlighted. And I think those are really important roles to have on set because they kind of help the guy, like what's going to be the outcome of the project and also how everyone is, feeling, whether it's if the director's mad and everyone's going to be mad the entire day if the AD is not on point. So being seen, I think you got to, being able to speak up as an AD and being the voice for all the people that are there on the set with you and on camera. That's kind of how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think in Dia de las Carpas, what makes it unique, the way that it was told was because it was told from a child perspective using magical realism. And even though that's so, and for those who watch the film or haven't watched it yet, it's about a little girl who escapes deportation by becoming a mermaid. So at the same time, so it's a kid's story, so it's an important topic, very real, but because it comes from that perspective of a child, it has that very fantasy feeling that I think is very unique and very relatable as well for family to watch. And I think that's why it's something that I never seen before, because sometimes I see those stories about us Latinx people and they have like such a negative connotation. Somebody just say like it should be just you just have rarely we see like a time where we can like really celebrate us and have a very positive outcome, because we don't just tell that side, or like I think there's just so many good things about our community and our spirit, and those things I think are present. I hope they're present in the film, but that's not always the aim, to make something that I haven't seen before.
Right.
So,
well, for me, it's actually interesting. I call myself so lucky that I didn't go to film school, because there's a lot of things that I still don't understand, that I'm still learning. While making films, like feature films later, I'm still learning. But what I will say is that just the fact that it's my story, it's already unique itself. There's nobody. I mean, I'm sure anybody in this panel could tell do the same thing that I did with my film, but it'd be a different perspective. So I think just the fact that I made that film, that came from me, separates it and says that it hasn't been put out there in a way. Being part of the LGBTQ community as well, and being Latino, and being a DACA recipient, I can see all the reasons why probably my stories never get told. But there's something beautiful about taking that power and telling your own story. So I feel very blessed and very lucky to be in a position where I get to make my own work, and I get to make my own films, and I get to call the shots when it comes to my stories, because I get to tell the story that I want. That's not to say that I have people behind me who are always giving opinions and critique, and where we have to shape my work to put it out. But there's something beautiful about that, because again, not having gone to film school, I've been able to break all the rules, and I've been able to pass through BS, and all the things that we talk about, like Steve said, the Emmys, or like Jorge said, the people, being on set with people who don't understand your background. And the other reason too, I think my stories are very different, and they haven't been told, and they're unique in a way, is because my crew is composed of 30% women, and 50% queer women too. So it's very it's all about creating inclusivity.
Jorge, why haven't I been called? That's your demographic. Okay, that's the people you have on set. Okay, that's crazy, because I'm like, okay, no, that's fine.
So
I'm free.
there, I think it starts there. Yeah, you know.
No, I'm teasing you. I also just realized, are we all wearing glasses? Because the irony of asking, not being able to be seen.
That's a rare.
And we're all
occurrence.
blind.
That's really rare. Yeah.
That's really rare, guys. I think we're all hipsters or just creatives.
Yes.
No, but Jorge, I was teasing you. I think that's really beautiful. It's also interesting too to think about how all of us, like, as much as we fall on the marginalized spectrum, all of our own stories within that spectrum are so unique and different. And I think that's like the interesting strength of all of this is our stories haven't been seen or told because the majority of marginalized people's stories haven't been shown in a way that has nuance, right? Like Steve was talking about how everyone's a criminal, and I giggled because it's like, yeah, well, how did we get relegated to just crime stories? And I guess to that end, right, like, do you guys feel that your work needs to push the cultural needle? Like, do you think your film, like, how do you think your films are going to affect society?
So my goal is always to, with anything I make, to like, you know, start a conversation coming from like the branded content space, right? The digital space. You know, in the early days, what we always, you know, we're always speaking to an audience, our audience, the Uproxx audience in particular, right? And, you know, the idea has always been like, or initially was, how can I like create something that people will use to represent a certain mindset or a position that they feel at this time, right? That gets people to share, that gets people to engage and all of that. You know, it's a little more nuanced than that. You know, we've kind of, I've grown as a filmmaker, but the intention's always still there. It's like, how can what I'm making start a conversation or teach someone something new? And, you know, everything, like Jorge was saying, you know, it's because of who I am and my personal life experience. When I'm directing something, when I'm writing something, when I'm creating something, it is already going to be, you know, different. It's already going to be, I like to think it's going to be interesting, you know, but setting out to like, look at like, okay, this is the audience I'm talking to. And these are the questions I want to raise within that group. These are the things I want to either use to raise questions or inspire that group. You know, I think that kind of helps set the tone for, you know, what ultimately people will take away from it. And then, you know, people always develop their own ideas and thoughts with content in general anyway, you know, and that's the beauty of creating things. From a filmmaking perspective, you know, it's kind of the same, you know, with the Lost in America, which George and I worked on together. You know, the idea was always to like give a voice to the voiceless and shine a light on this community that people that, you know, were forgotten. So, and I hope we did that.
George, do you feel like the project achieved that? Like, what was your experience with that specific project?
I mean, yeah, going into the project, it never was it was, I didn't realize how much it was going to affect me, how much it was going to change how I looked at, the unhoused population, especially the youth, because that's what we were focused really on the youth. But our biggest goal was to give them a voice, and show that, you know, they matter and that we need to be able to not just walk by them, like, let them tell us their story, how they got there, why they're there, and then also participate in like showing them that, you know, that not everyone is gonna step over them. You know, so we spent a lot of time. We spent close to 4 years. Steve, myself, and the director and our sound guy, who was just instrumental as the crew, and we traveled the country on, you know, all for almost 4 years in a minivan up and down the coast, up and down the East Coast, the Pacific Coast, and all over the country. And and you know, I knew there was the moment everything shifted for me when making that movie was when we were sitting in a house and we were listening to a young man tell us about his sex trafficking, what happened to him, and He finished. I just turned off the camera and I walked out of the house, and I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. It's killing me. And like, but it was one of those moments where I realized, like, man, like you don't experience these, you don't get this honesty a lot from folks. And I can't just walk away. I need to continue and help tell this story like even more now. So definitely, I think Lost in America was one of those things that, you know, it will affect society and has affected it, and especially the youth that we worked with.
Right.
And be wrong for us not to shout out the director and Rotimi Rainwater, who
Rotimi Rainwater,
formerly he was homeless himself, and he really pushed us to kind of step outside of our comfort zone and experience what he experienced in a way. And like George said, that moment when we were at that house, that was kind of a turning point for all of us, and I think it broke us in a way that you know, it's hard to explain, but that's kind of, I think George is right. That's when we knew we were telling these important stories. It was.
It almost feels like fighting for truth is how you can like create change, right? Like fighting for the truth within the story. I'm curious for Jorge and JOão, like, do you guys, with your own work, are you fighting? It's obviously different stories and different films, but do you feel like fighting for truth is something that you guys look towards?
Yes, definitely. I think, you know, fighting for truth, it depends on the story, you know, that's kind of big. But what I do that I feel like, and whenever new project I'm working on, I always like to put, like, you know, to attract the audience for something that could be the truth or like important topic. I think I'm always embellishing that in some like funny package, or like for example, a fantasy film or a comedy or a horror film even. And those films always speak the truth and like important stuff. But using that kind of like more entertainment, I would say, way, I think you can attract more people, and you can have more people listen to your voice. And you also can attract the people that wouldn't listen to your voice to go and watch something because they like that kind of film, you know? So I think that's how if I would say how I want to change, you know, that's what I bring to the table, which is like, let's say, you know, my film, De las Carpas. Not everybody may want to rewatch or watch again a story about immigration because, you know, it's something that's so prevalent in the media. But once you put, oh no, it's a kid's film. Oh, it's kind of DT. Oh, there's mermaids. So you invite a lot of people that wouldn't watch it first to watch, and then they evolve in the story, and then they understand, and that could affect them in many levels. So, and then, you know, as big as the film, you can affect society, I would say.
For me, it's about trying to be authentic myself, as in the sense of, and it's probably a little selfish, and it's an argument that I have with my manager all the time, where he says, "Well, Jorge, why are you making films? Are you making films for yourself, or are you making films for people?" And I always say, "Well, I'm making films for myself," and I think that's why it's a little selfish. But I think that if I don't stay authentic to myself and the vision that I want to pursue and what I want to show the audience, then I'm probably not going to get what I'm expecting. But then also I'm breaking the rule too there, where I try to tell myself not to have any expectations. When I did Your Iron Lady, which is a film based on my mom's life and our first 3 years in America, I made that film with $1,500, and when I started getting all this buzz and started, you know, all these things started to happen, I was just really happy that people were watching it and that a lot of people were identifying themselves with it. You know, and like I said, it's a story about a mom. It's very universal because we all have moms. You know, we all come out of women, and we all have a mom at home, or had a mom at some point, and just the extent of what mothers would go through and what they would do to put to feed their children and to put them into the best school or to the best programs, or just to push them to do something. So when I made that film, although I was going back in time, we used some of the locations where things actually happened 20 years ago. I was so disconnected the whole time because I knew that if I didn't disconnect, I would probably be biased. And I think I was maybe a little biased throughout the whole film at the end. But it was all about being, staying true to what happened and staying true to the authenticity of what I lived and what my mom went through, and that's where it starts with me. I've tried writing things that could be more commercial or things that are more that will get, I guess, more out there and people would watch it more. But it just doesn't come to me. I can't just say, oh, I'm gonna write a comedy today, or a lot of my work, actually all my work, it's centered on social justice issues, and I think it's because a lot of the stuff that I've gone through as an undocumented gay man in the U.S., instead of putting it out there, like when I do press or when I talk to people, I put it in my work because it's important how we tell these stories. So that's where I start. I start just feeling as authentic as I can, and that's also allowing myself to be vulnerable, because there's a lot of things that sometimes I don't want to talk about to people, but I don't have a problem putting them on screen. And it's all about also for me making people feel uncomfortable, and it's usually the topics that nobody wants to talk about. I like my new film, it premieres next Friday. It's about a school shooting. Nobody wants to talk about that. I'm huge on gun control, and I'm always pushing on it, and I get hate for it, but I don't care. This is something that I truly believe in, and I stick to it and I push it because it's something that it's a crisis. So I stand up and I speak about it, and if it feels right, then I'm doing it.
Right. I mean, if I could just pitch you an idea, you should just add mermaids to it. I think, according to Joe, that'll make it. Everyone will listen. Okay, Joe hated that joke. No. It's also really interesting too. It's like, how do you deal with such delicate topics? So of course, it's like, it's gonna affect society if we can find some truth in it. But then simultaneously, it's like, oh man, I really have to excavate internally to get to the truth, to then get something I can showcase to people. And then hopefully that can push the cultural needle. And I think to that end, how do you guys think you can make your films be a part of the national conversation? Like, we've sort of been talking about this a little bit, right? With just sort of like scarier themes or topics, but do you guys, I mean, some of you have answered this already, but like, do you look for what's hot and trending, or is it just like, okay, this seems relevant, how can I tweak it? Or are you guys always trying to be a part of the conversation that's going on?
I'll jump in. I mean, picking projects on my end, I recently did a thing called Smashing Stereotypes, which was about
cool.
It was for Amazon, and it was about all the hate crimes that were going on in the Asian communities. And I felt like that's how I can do my part, joining the crew, becoming part of it, and then helping and speaking while we're prepping these sets. And the set was fun, but you sit and you talk with a lot of these folks. They were all musicians and poets, and they're telling you what's going on and what they're seeing and how it teaches you in a different way, and you start seeing their truth, right? And so finding projects like that for me is a big thing. I did a thing for Apple TV, which was about Juneteenth, and we had a lot of big talents, but the stuff that was written was all August Wilson's monologues, and it was beautiful. And we shot it in New York in this historical place it was just one of those beautiful things that we went in there and we filmed, and the crew was African American and of color, and everyone, these monologues, you're standing there, you forget you're working because you're listening to August Wilson talk to you, and there's moments where you're just like, tears coming down your eyes because you're like, man, like August Wilson just keeps talking to you no matter what. And I like doing projects like that as a crew guy. I try to find as many of those as I can, so I can also take that information and bring it into the next projects I'm in and the people I'm talking to, and continue sharing those thoughts and those ideas, and how that way we all understand each other as people. And it's not, especially on crews, you get on sets and you want to make sure everyone understands each other in a different way. There's no disrespect. The words that are coming out of people's mouths, you got a lot of older crew guys that sometimes say things that just because they've been there for 40 years, and you're like, no, man, the world's changed. That's not the words we use anymore. If you continue, you can go away. But just like fixing those things or just being a part of it and just kind of nudging them little by little as much as you can without being a pest, you know?
You got to get some of Jorge's lesbians on this crew to help out.
Well,
when it comes to like picking projects, I guess, fortunately on the content side, with what I do with Warner and Uproxx, we have a team of creatives and, people that are really like and we also have a full editorial staff. So people are that are constantly like on the pulse of like what is being talked about today. And I'm fortunate to be able to, choose projects that we're working on, that I want to work on, and tell stories that I think will be impactful and add my touch to them. With the People's Party show that we do, the YouTube series, talk show, and podcast with Talib Kweli, it's a career retrospective on all of our guests, but most of our guests have something that they want to say, and Talib being the genius that he is, and the activist that he is, he's very influential in driving, conversations forward and making sure that, everything we put out is spot on. And, I've learned a lot about those types of conversations from just, having worked with him for the past 2.5 years. And then, on the film front, because of the work I do, I'm fortunate to be able to really pick scripts that I want to work on that are going to, tell really interesting stories. Like, the first narrative feature I did was called Domino Battle of the Bones. And, I co-directed that with Baron Davis and my buddy Carl Reed, and Carl wrote the film. And the film is, it's a comedy, but it's really, we really talk about, things like gentrification and white folks coming into the hood and taking advantage of, people of color. This is, and we were also able to show a game that is not typically shown on TV, one that we all grew up playing, at least I think we all grew up playing or have been around it, dominoes. And the overall goal of that was to kind of like start that conversation, okay, really, this is a white dude in the hood taking advantage of everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, which we see every single day. So yeah, and I don't want to be a little long-winded with it, but that's kind of like how I.
No, I was gonna ask quite literally, like, you're talking about how Talib wants to get the conversation going. Like, what does that look like? Is that like social media outreach? Is that he's like, okay, guys, we're touring, we're talking to these people. Like, what does the strategy look like for that?
Well, it's a multi-pronged strategy. He's always engaging on his social media, but we also, with every episode, he does 13 hours of research for every single episode, and he's really writing detailed scripts. And then my partner in the show, Steve Ramucci, he's adding in questions, and we're just kind of working through all of these ideas when we know what guests we're going to bring on the show. And then once we've got the show in the can, then it's okay, let's watch the episodes and find the moments that are the most interesting, influential, inspiring, whatever it is. And then we share them across, the different social platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram. We share breakouts on YouTube. But we really do take our time to watch through everything and really fine tune these moments, and then create cut downs and breakouts that fit whatever platform we're going to release them on, because you've got to meet the audience there, and you've got to work with format it so that format it in a way that fits the platform. That's super important. Yeah. Otherwise people won't see it,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there's two questions, right? How can your film become the part of the national conversation, and how do you projects? I think that's what's going on. In terms of getting the film as part of the national conversation, I think it just is because I'm just noise. And wait, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say, like, in terms of like India de las Carpas, it already was part of the conversation. Like, it's a topic that's always prevalent. Like Latin people come to the U.S. Just like me. I try to figure out, like, how can I, I'm not a child. So how can I figure out the character that have that kind of feeling, and be myself in those films, because what I always see in my films, that the main characters are kind of like me when I was young. So Las Carpas, the kid is like a kid without so many friends, like more observational kid. He's more like watching the world. He's the one to understand what's going on. The other kids are just like playing. And I think that's what I always start with. Instead of starting with a bigger topic, start with one character that I can really relate as a human and as the actor, and then maybe you put that character into something else, and then that character will change. At least that's how I work, and I think that it could be something that is part of the national conversation that's happening right now, but it could be also something that's not yet to come, and I realize it. I think that's also very interesting.
I mean, for me, like I was saying earlier, I think it comes down to being authentic within yourself, like making sure that the story you're telling is true to yourself, or at least what you want to tell, and know the story too, because there's a lot of times where, and it's happened to me, where we want to tell a story that doesn't belong to us, and it just doesn't feel right. I will say that I've been very, again, and I know a lot of people don't believe in luck, but I've been very lucky to be working at this time at the industry. I remember working for me about 5 years ago on a film set, my very first film set as a PA. I got fired that day just because I spoke my mind and I said something that I didn't like. But there was a lot of things that I didn't like, and I said to myself, if I'm going to walk away here getting fired on my first day, I'm going to make sure that when I go forward, I don't do what I didn't like here today. And that's kind of been the motto for every time I have a film. Or we make a film, and I don't know why I don't make it that way. I don't pick it that way, but I've been very blessed to have women, have people of color on sets all the time, and it's been the most best, like the most joyful times of my life every time I make a film, because I think I've made a great family, and we've never had any issues. That other people talk about, like Steve and George we're talking about right now. And I think that's what makes the project too also, it catapults it to go to a next level. At the end of the day, wherever the project goes is out of my control. If it becomes part of history or not, that's really out of my control. My schedule is I make a film in February, release it in October, and I make a new one in February, and it goes where it needs to go. And if the universe...
I love the confidence. If it becomes Hamilton, it becomes Hamilton. Okay, I can't control it.
I can't control that. I know that at the end, I'm satisfied that, my crew and I and my team, we made something that we're proud of. And that's really where it comes from, having no expectations, having no, not thinking about what the next thing is going to be for that project. I made Melancholia again, which premieres next Friday. I made it in March 2020. We finished 3 days before the stay-at-home order, and I haven't seen it anywhere. This is the first time we're going to see screen, and I had bigger hopes for it. It went to it went to a couple festivals, but I had I was thinking that it was going to go further, and that's why I cut my expectations now. I can't have expectations. Wherever it goes, it's great, and I'm cool with that. And I just I'm cool with it. It's because I set out to do that story, and it was something that felt from the heart that I wanted to tell to people. And if it becomes part of history, awesome. And if it doesn't, on to the next one.
Hey, congrats on a film, man. Congrats on the film coming out. That's awesome.
It's my 5th film, so I'm really excited.
Hey, that's huge.
You guys are welcome to come on Friday to premiere. If you're Lorena, if you get to come to LA, please.
I love a good link. If you want to, I loves a good link. I wish I could be there. But the Vimeo, I don't know if you've heard of youtube.com. I love those. Those are great for me.
I'll go ahead and send you that. Yeah. Okay, you guys are invited. You guys are welcome to come next Friday, 6:30, Chinese Theater. It'll be fun.
That's awesome. No, and I think also, like, you all have really hit the core of this question, which is like, one, we can't really set that expectation. Like, I think having those dreams, like, I really believe in like manifesting and having big dreams. But at the end of the day, it's like, we're just creating to get better. And hopefully at some point, at like getting better at the thing, you know, we're kind of all just like chucking away at this skill set that we're all like mediocre to great at. And then just getting better and better. And ideally, coming at a story with authenticity and then coming at it with your experience, you'll be able to create something that hits what the national conversation is looking like. And also sometimes you'll make stuff that, I mean, this is not the right comparison, but like Arrested Development, ahead of its time, and then it blew up, right? You look at something like an Idiocracy, it blew up like 10, 15 years later. And what I'm saying, Jorge, is that your films are exactly like Idiocracy. But yeah, it's that thing of like, okay, yeah, let's try to create some change, but like, it may not be Hamilton. I would like to pivot with this next question. So this is more like a choose your own adventure of fun. You know, obviously you guys know that the 3 pillars of storytelling, we have character, story, and conflict. And I guess I'm just curious for you guys, like, which one is queen amongst them? You know, do you really lean into character? Are you like story? Are you like transformation? Like, where does this need to like transform? Which in some ways you can call that story. So I don't know if any of you guys like lean on one or the other for creating your films.
For me, it's always story, you know, creating, like finding ways to create tension in everything, I think is super important. You know, it keeps audience engaged, you know, coming from the world of creating like short content, like 10 minutes or less, you know, 15 minutes or less, for most of my career. You know, it's always about like, how do you keep like pulling that rubber band, keep pulling that rubber band, you know, and the characters, you know, obviously are important in that, but it's really just like making sure that you're telling a compelling story that, you know, gives people no exits. And I kind of, you know, I was watching a master class with Ron Howard.
Ooh.
And he was breaking down like how every single one of his films, he breaks it down into sequences, right? So every scene is broken down into sequences, and within those sequences, he's trying to create tension. So it's like, you know, you have like a 2 or 3 minute scene, and within that, he's got like maybe 2 different sequences or whatever. And in those sequences, he's trying to, you know, keep that tension going to keep people on edge. And once you break your film down like that, then, you know, it really like helps, I guess, helps to push that forward. So like for me, like I said, you know, all that to say, story, character, conflict, like that is conflict and story are really important to me. Oh, I think you're muted, Jorge.
Here we go.
Jorge. Jorge, go for it.
Go ahead, Jorge.
So for me, it's also story. I will say half the time I don't know what I'm doing. I just, and I'm not being sarcastic at all. When I saw that question, when you said that, when you were repeating that question, I kind of got a little nervous because I had no idea how I was going to answer. But after hearing Steve, it's story for me. It's story for me. It's thinking about what story I want to tell, and it's about the main character, the protagonist, and their intentions. And again, there's something beautiful about not, I guess, having gone to even like screenwriting school, because I everything I do, like I've learned as I've gone, you know, throughout the last 5 years, and I just kind of concentrate on the story that I want to tell, and I just write it down, and I just pretty much vomit the entire, like I've written script, you know, let's see, for like Melancholia, I wrote that in about 4 hours, and I sent it to my manager, and he was like, okay, he's like, are you gonna do a rewrite? I'm like, maybe, I don't know. And it didn't end up having a rewrite. I went to the lead actress. She said yes before she even read it. And I was like, great, let's move on. So for me, it's just kind of like whatever I feel like it may be like an illness where I just like, I stop everything and I sit down and I start writing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about me. I get all this energy. And if the story's in my head, I already see the film the way I want it to be. And I put it down on paper, and, you know, I move forward. But it's cool, I guess, in a way. But I wish I could give you like a more like academic answer in that sense.
I think it's
yeah. Sorry,
no,
and a lot of the actually all my work I've written for specific people. So you know, like the lead in my last film, you know, I've known about her work. She's a huge star in Mexico, and I knew she would nail this role. And I said, I wrote this for you. Here it is. Do you want it? And she said, I'll do it. You know, so it's always kind of been that way too. When I'm writing, like I'm already thinking of the actors that I want, or the actors. And it kind of just develops. And I'm also huge on improv. When I'm on set with people, I love the actors, the artists to push themselves into improv if something feels right. It sounds messy, but it's the process, you know, that I like to do and like to approach, and it's worked for me. So that's kind of my process, if that makes any sense.
No, it definitely does. I mean, I think it's also interesting. It's a tough question. How do you like sparse through these three different things? Because even for me, yeah, obviously story is queen, but like I think I approach stuff from like the character. It's like, yes, the context of the world, but for me, it's like I do dialogue, and then that kind of creates the story. All of my films are about, you know, janitors, so it's very easy for me. JOão, what about you? How is your process?
For me, I would say, sorry.
Go ahead.
For me, I get it. Usually my process, I would say like, yeah, character conflict transformation in terms that I like imagining the visual of the beginning and the visual of the end. So I know what the film is, how the film starts usually. Like I know what's the scene, and then I know the scene of the film ending, or whatever the decision that he makes, the character makes. So that's how it started. So for me, it's always about figuring out now the conflict and how to make the script make sense for the character to get to that position, and then that big change in his life or in his mindset. So that's how it starts for me. You know, like it may start with, I would say, character and transformation more, and then it's conflict. And then I realize, oh, this needs that and that and that and that. But I usually go like from a visual world where I imagine like this is what's happening in the beginning. In the end, he does this, and then I have to figure out what's in the middle, which I think is the most fun part.
Yeah, that can be really fun, but also really torture.
Yeah. I mean, it's pain and torture, and pain towards fun, I would say, but also very painful sometimes. It's like pain that you like, kind of.
Yeah. Right. Okay, JOão, we're learning a lot about you. No, but I think that's also like what Jordan Peele was saying, where he picked up Get Out, put it down 20 times, you know. It's like this stuff, it comes out great, but yeah, we're all losing years of our life. Basically, the message is leave the biz. George, I'm sorry, were you gonna step in?
Yeah, I mean, I usually go with story, especially being an assistant director and being on set and scheduling. I always feel like if I'm gonna spend 30, 40, 60 days on a project, the story needs to be the thing that keeps me there, because I care a lot and I'm always constantly wanting to make sure that the story's told, that the things are happening and things are being produced to like the best that they can be. So I tend to go with story because I'm gonna be with it. It's with me. It's in my life. I'm talking about it at all times. Usually when I'm working on set, that's pretty much the only thing it takes over everything. And I want to make sure that if it's gonna take over everything, it's something that I want to tell or I want to see. Even if it's a comedy, even if it's a drama, like it has a good thing and it's just gonna be fun, or it's gonna be serious and it's gonna give a message. I want to make sure the story is legit and solid, like all the way across the board, so I can spend the 30, 40, 60 days with, because it does take me away from a lot of other things, personal things. So
Sure, yeah, I understand. No, what? Life? I don't have that. That's a life? Yeah. Look how I'm dressed. I don't have friends. Well, you guys, we basically have like 3-4 minutes left, and I just this is sort of like a standard whatever, but what is like one and again, we have 3 minutes, so I know we all have master classes. But like, what would you say is like the main advice you give? Just like a couple sentences. What is like the thing that's like been your compass that has taken you to where you are?
I
George.
got.
Yeah, hit me.
Don't be an asshole. I don't know if you can curse, but don't be that guy.
Well,
You have to. The compass has to be set. You have to be a good guy across the board. I always say, I know Steve for a very long time, and I say Steve is one of the hardest working people in the industry. And the reason why is because he's one of the nicest guys you're gonna meet across the board. So that's like one of the things I've always followed. Like, you have to be a good guy. You have to be a good person if you want to have relationships in this industry. If you want to be solid in this industry and work hard. Yeah.
solid. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll second what George said just there about don't be an a-hole.
They're gonna say that I'm also that I am a nice guy.
Well, I appreciate that too. No, also say yes to, like, especially if you're just starting out, say yes to everything. There's this, this idea of wanting to maybe be particular, which makes sense if in some regards for some people, but what I found was the most helpful for me growing a career and just getting as much done was just saying yes. So say yes to everything, do it for a year, 2 years, and you got a body of work and you're good.
I would say an advice is try to plan ahead, like a year ahead. If you want to do like a feature film, maybe do the short before, and that's going to be like a 5-minute piece, but that's going to be much easier for you to raise money later. And try to do also, I think, trying to do the things that you can do, if you cannot do your epic sci-fi adventure right now, you may be able to do something else, and that's going to be in the future. But doing something that you can actually do, like especially for young people, that's how I started, making films with my friends, and a crew of like 5 people, or even less. Just make sure you have good sound, because people tend to.
Yeah, John. Now you're giving like 3 bits of advice. Yeah.
On those projects, that's very small projects, they don't hire the soundman. Like you can have you can use the iPhone, but get a good sound, and that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like a small project. So yeah, something that is on your lane, and try to plan like what you're going to do with that later if it's something for a bigger project.
Awesome. Jorge, take us home.
For me, it's just simple. Don't take anything personal. People are always going to have opinions. It doesn't matter. You believe in yourself. You do what you're doing, but don't take it personal. It's not about you. It really isn't. People have opinions, and it's never going to be about you. It's going to be about them. So just let it go.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, my guys, my favorite band. I can't wait to start. Truly, whenever I'm so glad One Direction's not happening anymore. Thank you all for being here. This was so delicious. This was so helpful for me. Selfishly, there's no one in the audience. It's actually, we set this up for me. No, but thank you guys again. If you're watching, if you just tuned in, it's over. It's at the end. This was Conversations Among X, and we were discussing compelling documentaries, real stories for real change. Now, we have a bunch of people to thank. We would like to thank HITN and, of course, CINE Youth for organizing this. If you submitted to their festival, you can watch film submissions on cineyouthfest.org. I would also like to thank the audience, because without you guys in the audience, this would have been weird. And thank you again once more to all the panelists. And our next panel is going to be Wednesday, October 13th, moderated by Antonio Martorell. Okay, this one's Tears, Fears, and Laughter, Overcoming Obstacles and Lessons Learned. Lastly, I've been Lorena Russi. Happy Wednesday, and we're gonna say goodbye with a thank you to our sponsors. So thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks to our sponsors, we continue to have important conversations that educate and inspire the most valuable asset for a brighter future, the new generation of Latinx creatives. Visit cineyouthfest.org to find out more, because tú cuentas. We all have a story to tell, and your story matters. Now more than ever, that's why we've created CINE Youth Fest. a cinema festival and a platform for independent voices, positive change, stories of heroism from the lens of a Latinx experience. Join the adventure on our website, cineyouthfest.org. There, you will find all you need to participate in the competition. The rules of the game, Latinx in film, where you find out how important we really are. Classes behind the camera with people who know. Stories from others like you who have a dream, big ideas, and awesome goals. Raise your voice to be heard. Show off to be seen. And be part of history sharing your story. Lights, camera, acción. Because tú cuentas. Powered by HITN.